All right, good morning, everyone. Today is April 16th, Saturday. Well, this is just announcement for fun. Let's get to something serious. So I was talking about a story. I was with this company called Nest Technologies a couple of years back, 10 years back maybe. And they hired me to, eventually they hired about a lot of guys and they sent to Israel, okay? And the first trip was great. We were like 40 to 80 people out there eventually, in installments. And eventually one trip, I think second trip of mine or last trip of mine was I had gone alone in Israel. So I used to be like just one guy in that room. That's a story for a different day, how boring it was and all that to be alone. But the fact is they gave me an assignment. They sent me for an assignment which was for 1.5 months. So what that means is if they send you on site in that 1.5 months, you have to complete that assignment. And I'm like just fresh out of college, very young. It's a very complex project. Even today, when I think about it, it was a complex project. It was a reconciliation that you had to do with the credit card company. And this credit card was actually tied to a fuel pump. So it's like a kiosk system, okay? That was the requirement. The reconciliation had to be done. And I had nobody over there to talk to and ask questions. Because many a times what happens, right? Like I tell you, hey, Romana, if you have a problem, talk to Mansa or Saujanya. Saujanya, if you have a problem, talk to Jyoti, whatsoever, right? So you kind of get a moral support, even if they're not able to help you. When you're talking to them, you kind of click on an answer. But if you get in a situation where you have nobody to talk to, that is the time when you start getting dreams, is what I realized. So I would think I would try to solve a problem hard in office and it would not get solved. I would come home, I would not have my food or maybe just have some little food and go to sleep. And not once, not twice, multiple times, I came up with solutions in my dreams. Okay, so what that really means, and the message for you is, if you're really thinking about a problem and you've done everything possible to solve that problem and you were not able to really solve it, go to sleep. Okay, and that's the application I do even today. Even in between office, if I'm not able to solve a problem, I just drop all my ammunition, I just go to sleep. I just put an alarm for like 30 minutes, and then go to sleep, get up, and then surprisingly, I'm able to solve the problem. Okay. I would want to tell you a little bit about what my assignment has been. Are you guys interested to know what my assignment has been with STG?
Sure, Samir.
Sure, Samir. Yeah.
All right. It's a good thing to know. That's the reason why I'm telling you what my assignment has been. So the assignment was, I don't know whether you've heard of VMware. Have you guys heard of VMware?
Yes, Samir.
So there is this VMware, whatever. It basically is a virtualization technology. Okay. So what you can do is you can buy a rack of servers with CPUs and memories and whatnot, and then you can have this VMware running on top of that, which allows you to create virtual machines. Okay, most of the people who worked in offices have seen this. You ask for a dev server, they will create a virtual machine, give it to you, which is similar to what we do with EC2 instances today, right? We go ahead and we create the instance, and then it has a public IP for us to access it, or it has a private IP to access within the VPC, right? So in my world, I've never worked with VMware. Okay, the closest that I've worked with VMware was in Zenmonics. I have seen Thomas. I don't know whether you guys know Thomas or not. Maybe Saujanya might know Thomas. Thomas and Keith were the IT guys, right? He used to create the instances, and then I would be able to just log in and recycle those servers. That was the closest that I got to it. And now when I got into this company, they said, we have this thing, Samir, we have AWS and we have the VMware component being created over here. And then whatever is on premises, if this is going to be on premise. And please, okay, I mean, this is not out of the syllabus. This is in syllabus. The whole reason I'm telling you is it's in syllabus for what we're learning. And this is on AWS. Okay, this one is VMware, but they call it as SDDC, which is Software Defined Data Center. I never heard of this name before. So you have to create this SDDC, and then you can migrate all your load. Migrate all your load from your on-premises to AWS. And as soon as you're done with everything, and live migration, okay, it's not like you stop this and then you go here. They start migrating the whole thing live. And one fine moment, it'll tell you everything is done, and then destroy this. And now everything that you are doing here, it's all here. What that means is if you had any underlying servers that were sitting in your office, you don't need them anymore. This one uses all the native AWS components. Okay. And the fun part is it has to be automated completely. So there are pieces of Terraform that we have to use. And the whole reason I'm telling you is because we have started looking at Terraform, right? And we have only looked at one. How many providers have we looked at so far in Terraform?
AWS.
How many? Where is the Terraform provider mentioned?
Providers.
Here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It can either be called providers, or you can even call it as versions.tf. Okay, many people have that versions.tf file, and I was searching for versions. We've looked at only one provider. And when it comes to this automation that I was working on, there were 4 providers. Okay. The first provider was VMC provider, and you can actually Google for it. Okay. Terraform VMC provider. The second provider was NSXT provider, which had to do everything with networking within SDDC. The third one, well, the first one was AWS, which you already know. And the last one was vSphere. vSphere lets you create VMs inside the SDDC. NSXT lets you define networking components. Okay. VMC allows you to create SDDC and public IPs. And in this networking components, you can define your segments, your DHCP, your DNS, your groups, and your firewall rules, none of which I knew, none of which. I mean, you would agree with me because we do not work with firewalls, right? As developers, we don't do any firewall work. We do not define segments. We do not define subnetworks. We don't do any of that. So this world was a complete unknown to me. If you start Googling, there is no information available on any of this stuff. The fun part is what, right? I mean, the fun part is if you do not know what it is, what are you going to Google for? You have nothing to Google for. So the lesson that I'm trying to tell you is not that I have done this. The lesson is when you do not know something, the most important thing is finding what is the tail. As soon as you find the tail or the thread, you hold on to it and you start finding everything else around it. You remember the previous lesson which I talked about in WhatsApp, right? I said if you have a big problem, a big requirement which you know about, you break it up into smaller components and you capture each and every component. That is applicable when you know what it is. But where you do not know what it is when you start holding the tail. Find the tail, hold the tail, go figure out every little thing, every small thing, component by component, and then solve the whole big problem. Okay. This project was supposed to be almost for a year. It's done in 4 months. Okay. And now I'm sitting and saying, what more do you have for me? Like, there's nothing more. So they said, oh, there's one more piece over here. There's something called as Plumio. If you Google again for Clumio, you'll find out that Clumio allows you to do backup and restore of the whole SDDC. Every VM running in there, you can back up and then you can restore. I said, fine, let me find out Terraform provider. Go to see Terraform provider is not there. So if you search for Clumio Terraform provider, you'll know what I mean. So they have a provider, but they do not have the resources that we really want. This is all about policies and users and whatnot. But we want a provider that will allow me to register the vCenter that's running within the SDDC to Clumio. So Clumio is an application sitting out. They do not have that. Okay. What they do have is they have APIs to do it. So I went ahead, I studied the API, and just yesterday completed that work. It took me just a couple of minutes to figure it out, actually. So you create the registration of vCenter. And again, you don't need to know everything that I'm saying over here, okay? What I'm trying to tell you is, when you get a problem that you do not know how to solve, you have to Google, but it's not as simple as when you already know what the whole problem is. It's a big problem. You don't understand the whole problem, but you know the components within it. But if you do not know the components within it, you have to uncover like an onion, one after the other, and solve the problem one after the other. And the joy to yourself is when you solve a problem, you get excited to solve the next problem. When you solve the next problem, you get excited to solve the next after it. I hope you're getting the message. The message is not what is here, okay? I hope you're getting the real message that I'm trying to convey to you. Are you guys getting it?
Yes, Samir.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is start peeling your problems one at a time. Don't look at the whole big problem. There is a solution for every single thing. And there might be n number of solutions to it. It's all up to you how to figure out what's the best solution. Okay. All right. That's the start of the session message to you. But the whole reason I explained this is this was a real fun project that I worked on so far. Let's go back to a console.
It actually happened to me with the current assignment, Samir, when we started off.
Right. And yeah, you knew nothing.
Automating plugins, right?
Exactly. You're coming from a background where you know nothing. And the kind of happiness that you get after you solve one problem and then you move to the next one, just to make you a little more happy, right? I will tell you something. Yesterday, I was trying to follow that plugin manager video. And I remember you told me you need to have a Jenkins.war.
Yeah, I figured out, Samir. Finally figured out.
Yeah, I have the answer for you for that also.
Yeah.
So the fun part was I wanted to look at the plugins.yaml file.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to refer to your example to find out how did you do it. So you should be happy about it.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to work. But the whole point is it's nirvana, okay? And Rumana used to keep hearing me before she actually joined this session is I love to sleep in between work. I love to sleep. And I proudly say that. And Rumana probably might be thinking at that time, what is this guy, right? He keeps sleeping.
Samir, if you finish 1 year project within 4 months, of course, right?
Exactly. I mean, yesterday, my colleague, he's telling me, Samir, yeah, you have completed in 4 months. Why do you want to go and declare it? Why don't you just relax, do whatever you want to do it? I'm like, dude, I will stay like this for next 4 months or 6 months, right? I completed in 4 months. I have 8 months to sleep. I will sleep. But what after 8 months? Your brain kind of get rusty. You have to keep treating it, right? I do certifications because I have so much of free time. I do certifications. I will work on what I need to work. I'm coming and training you over here. There are people who will just call me for consultancy out of nowhere, like free consultancies. So I really hate when people come and tell me I'm busy. So the message for you for the second thing is don't be so busy. Make yourself capable that you never have to call yourself busy. Okay. I know this message doesn't get in you so far, but by the time you complete my sessions, you're probably going to get there wherein you say, yes, I'm able to solve things faster. I'm able to relax. I'm able to give myself some time, and I'm not so busy. Okay, so please write it somewhere that I'm going to come to Samir and tell him one day that, Samir, yes, I'm really not very busy. The people who say they're very busy, either they have not learned the secret of how to not be busy, or they're lying. Make sense? The time people are busy because they let somebody else drive them. My message to you is, you should drive. Don't let anybody else drive you. Okay, but anyway, today's session, I think 30 minutes is gone just for what? Waste? Let's get
Yeah.
let's get to our real work.
This is where it is hiding, Samir. Jenkins.org.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
What's the password? Okay, hold on. Come here. So what I have so far is EC2 instance that's running in here. And oh, wait, not this. What happened? No. All right. So I'm here, right? I mean, I've got my Jenkin, which is not set up yet. But before we get there and we start looking at what Saujani has asked for the load balancer and everything from scratch, I want to show you what I got here. Change anything here. So if you want to take a look at it, I have pushed these changes up there, okay? Right. So what I have is, I have a file over here. I mean, let's not look at the solution. What was the problem? The problem was with the plugin manager, you have to first have one file, which looks like this. Yeah, I mean, there's some more configuration to it if you have to define your versions, but if you just want to take the latest, this is the configuration. So the first thing what I did was, I didn't come to this solution day one, right? I mean, many times we look at the solution and we say, oh, wow, how does this guy even think about it? No, the solutions are not done that way. People figure out little things at a time. So what I did was I installed Jenkins with a normal Terraform apply. Then I logged into, I SSH'd into that box, and I tried to do exactly what this documentation says. All right, so where is the GitHub? This one. So I just followed this, okay? So what I need, the first thing that I saw was this, okay? It was saying, download the latest Jenkins plugin. So I did this, control click. I looked at this plugin manager, picked it up, and created a wget. Well, not this one. I didn't do it this way. I picked up the URL from here, copy link, and I formed let me close all of this. And I formed a wget command like this. And then I wanted to remove the version part from there. So I said minus whatever Jenkins plugin manager. .jar. Okay, if I want to put in a specific path, I can. So once I knew that, then I came back over here. Yes, I've downloaded it. Then what? Then it says Java minus jar, the plugin jar, whatever you had. I didn't need this star because I had removed the version. And then you have to give a var. And I'm like, really? I have to download a var to do this? No, that's not a good idea. So I started exploring when you install Jenkin, where does that var goes. So let's get back here and let's go to git bash. And I had to figure it out a little bit. So user share Java. And that little guy is sitting here. Okay. So I figured that out. So now I knew where my Jenkins var is. So I knew that what to put over here. Then I had to give the plugin file. I realized, oh yeah, you know what? I put the plugin file inside. So I created a folder called Jenkins plugin manager manually. Okay, all of this was happening manually, and I put the plugin file. I put the Jenkins plugin manager over here, and then I ran the command specifying where my well, this guy was not defining where the plugins would be put, right? Where the plugins will be downloaded. So I started going through the description here, and here itself I found the message. So plugin download directly, if not defined, it will go to this folder automatically. So I didn't want to do that. So I put a local directory inside this folder itself, and I ran the command. I saw all those plugin file being downloaded. Now I said, okay, where is it? I really need to install it. So I figured out it's cd where lib Jenkins plugins. That's where I have to install it. So I said, okay, fine. So taking one dot at a time, right? I figured out the whole picture. And now how does the whole picture look like? If you go to my main.tf file, I have this base64 encoded string, right? First of all, I had to put a file, right? This base64 user data, I know for sure cannot access my local file. That's a big problem, right? I mean, how do I put a file in the TMP, that plugin.yaml file? How do I put? So I said, okay, let me do one thing. Let me put this file over here and let me look at the file provisioner. So if you really look at Terraform provisioner, there are three types of provisioner. One is, tell me, Roman.
Local, where you can execute any commands here in the Terraform locally. File provisioner is when you have to place the file in your EC2 instance. Again, that you can specify the connection as to where exactly, which EC2 instance, right?
Yep.
If you don't, then it will default to whatever the EC2 instance that you're creating as part of this Terraform. And
right.
Third one is remote exec,
yep.
which will allow you to execute commands in the remote EC2
in the provisioned instance.
Yep.
Okay, so everything that we were doing in user data could technically be done in the remote exec. Okay, you can either use both if you want to, but it's really not required. Okay, so I tried to do this remote exec and then I commented it out just for your information. I've kept it here. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to copy a file from my local, which is in files plugin.yaml, and I wanted to push it to tmp plugins.yaml. So this is in the instance. This is from my local. So that's where I used file provisioner. Okay, the local exec provisioner, LOCAL-EXEC, similar to remote exec, is used if you want to run some kind of Ansible, let's say locally, to do something with your remote. So technically, I could have even used Ansible to provision if I would set up a SSH between my local to the provision instance. I can even use Ansible to do that. So that's the reason why earlier when I was talking, I said, right, you have a problem, it can be solved in multiple ways. It all depends on you. Which one do you feel the most comfortable with? And as you mature, it's not about which one you feel most comfortable with. It's about which one is the most performing, most maintainable, most easier for others to understand. Okay. So any solution, if that solution is not clean and you are having a tough time understanding it, that means anybody else who comes after you will have a tougher time. Right. So pick up the solution that's the easiest. So I did remote exec. Then I went to user data. I put all of what is here into user data. That whole exercise was around the fact that I want to keep it standard and easier to understand. Okay, this would not be possible with user data because user data is running within the EC2 instance. They would not be able to access my file. If you think it is possible, please try it out. Okay, or let me know if it works. Now let's go and look at
45 minutes somewhere over there.
What's that?
I wasted 45 minutes trying to see if we can include it as part of user data, but yeah,
it is not possible.
Yeah.
So now let's look at this. Control-Shift-P, if you've installed your base64 encoding, right? And just to decode. If I go up here, everything here you've already seen, nothing great. So after you enable Jenkin, like you've installed Jenkin, you've enabled Jenkin, you started Jenkin. I'm putting a sleep of 1 minute because when you start Jenkin, it takes a couple of seconds for it to completely be available and all the folders be created, is what I figured out while I was running it locally. Okay. Because as soon as the instance was up, I was able to SSH into the box. I went in and I checked if all the plugin folder was available, where lib Jenkin plugin. It wasn't. Only after the instance starts. That's the reason why what I did was I put a sleep of 1 minute. I could probably put 30 seconds, but I was okay with 1 minute. Then I go down. What I did is I created a directory -p. We've already seen when we were talking about Linux. You remember? If the folder does not already exist, it will create the folder. So I'm saying in TMP, I want a folder called Jenkins Plugin Manager. So it creates it. Then I do a CD into that folder. And then I do a wget. This is the same thing what I showed you earlier, right? We figured out how to do it. So if you go here, I've removed the version from that using the -o command. If I don't put -o in this file, it will bring me this version jar. Okay. Then I went in. Any questions so far? Anybody? Everybody's understanding?
So how did you variabilize the version, Samir?
How did you?
Did you variabilize the version number here? You removed the version?
No. I did not. So this part of what to download is pretty much static.
Right.
Okay, but when it downloads it, I don't want a version around it. That's what it is, Romana. If you want to download latest every single time, then I would have to variabilize this version number. But that was not my need. Make sense? Okay. Anybody else? Any question? So next, what I did was I copied. You remember this provisioner was putting it in tmp plugins.yaml. I copied it from there and I put it up in tmp Jenkins Plugin Manager, the folder which I've created, plugins.yaml. So now I have the staging done. What I just have to do is run. So I run this command, giving user share Java Jenkin what. This is again what we figured out right earlier. And the plugin file is in the current directory. So plugins.yaml. Download directory where I want it to be downloaded. I want it to be downloaded in where lib Jenkin plugins. That's what I did here. Okay. The next one is after it is done, the where lib Jenkin plugins, I have to recursively go and change the user to Jenkins. Otherwise, it is root by default. Okay. After that is done, I restarted Jenkin, added the Jenkin user in the Docker group, and we are all set. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and look at what we have here. Okay, I can stop for a second. Do you have any question? Anybody? No?
No, Samir.
Let's do this. Okay, before I do this, I want to make sure that the load balancer and everything is set up. Okay. So let's go back to our instance. So we have this instance running, okay? And the diagram that we had shown earlier, the first thing that we want to do is we want to create the target group, correct? So go ahead and create a target group. And we want the target group for the instance. So select instance, give a name over here, Jenkins TG. And the port that we want is 8080, right? And let's go down. And what?
No,
Yeah. That is done. And then what we can do is name Jenkins TG.
Maybe one question here.
Yeah.
Target group is the area where you register multiple
Instances.
machine instances, right? So that the load balancer can
Yes.
do its job. Okay.
Yep. Next, this is created over here. What we want to do is we want to register this instance. There's only one instance, but if there were 10 instances, they would show all 10. And we want it to map to port 8080 only. So I'll include it as pending below. And I would say create target group. So Jana, did you miss any part over here so far, or you are following the same thing?
Same thing, Samit. Till now, it's good.
Okay.
After creating load balancer, somehow it's not mapping.
Sure, we'll see that. So now once this target group is created, if I go in the target group, it will show that it is unused. The instance is unused because we do not have any load balancer map to it, right? It is not showing it's healthy or unhealthy, it is unused. Okay. So what we will have to do is we'll have to go and create the load balancer. So let's go to load balancer and we'll say create load balancer. And as I said, we could have used network load balancer, but we are using application load balancer for now. Let's say create. And over here, it's going to be Jenkins LB. This name can be anything, okay? I mean, I'm just following standards over here. So LB is load balancer, TG is target group, SG is security group, so on and so forth. I want it to be internet facing. And IPv4. What I'll do is I will select all of them because I don't know. See, this is where you might have gone wrong. Is if you're not in a Terraform script, we are not fixing our EC2 instance to be deployed in a specific availability zone. So it can land into any availability zone. Okay. That's the reason why I have to select all of it over here. So that it goes into any availability zone, my target group will still, load balancer will still be able to identify it. Okay. So I selected all of them. And over here, I don't want the default. I want the LB, Jenkins LBSG. So that's where this is another thing that you have to pay attention to. So Jenny.
Yeah, I did that too, Samit.
And listener, we want it 80 is fine, I believe. And if you want to go to 10 Jenkins TG.
Samit, HTTPS, right?
Yes. Yes. So we are done here. Then we go to ACM. I don't think so. I have any certificates at the moment. I deleted it. So what I'll do is I'll request for certificate and request for public certificate. And it is star.lotusops.com. Solve. DNS validation is what I want to do. Jenkins ACM. Happens. Let's give it some time.
Do we need to create the record set for CNAME?
Create what?
Create the record set for CNAME?
I already have it.
You have? Okay.
Well, you know what? You don't need to have a CNAME or whatever, right? It should add those CNAMEs for the certificate automatically.
It didn't happen to me, Samir. I had to manually, not manually, but click on that create record set something.
Where do you see that?
Here, yeah. up there, create record set in Route 53.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would want
even
to-
I forgot to click create record in Route 53, so it didn't work for me first.
So let's add that. Yeah, even I remember I had to do that. So thank you. So now it is issued. Now let's go back to EC2. Close this guy. I wanted to actually clean up the other CNAME. Now I would not know which one is the older CNAME, which I don't need, but that's fine. I'm going to destroy this and recreate it. So that's not a problem. If I go down here, refresh, select it and create, that's fine. Everything else is fine. Click Romano or anything else I have to do.
I think that's it, Samir.
You load balancer. So this is going to be provisioning. Once it is provisioned, we can go to the target group to see if our instance is getting health. The instance is getting healthy.
After this, I got unhealthy one.
Okay, that's where I think you were setting it up. You are not setting it up in all the availability zone is what I'm thinking. So Janya,
I selected all the zones, Samir.
you did?
Yeah, I did. I
Okay.
don't know where it went wrong.
We'll figure it out. I'm thinking there's another thing which you might have missed is to specify this login.
I did that too. I did multiple times, so I remember each and every step.
Okay. we'll-
For the name server, did you remove the dot at the end?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
Well, name server has nothing to do with this. so far,
Nothing
right?
to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
did
we are just playing with Route 53 at the moment. I mean, we are not even going to Route 53. We are just at the load balancer and the target group level. Route 53 will only come when you want to have a fancy name. Otherwise, you can just use your load balancer URL.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's give it some time to provision. Still provisioning, so we'll wait.
I think that name server thing comes into picture while creating the certificate, right? Samir, where you have to keep the domain name.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise
Yeah.
you will not even get it issued, right? If you got it issued, that means everything is
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine. Correct. Yeah.
If you want to do with a default one, we can use CNAME record, I guess. We have to add CNAME in the domain. That's it.
Explicitly or default, what do you mean? Certificate or
Name
what?
server, Samir. Instead of creating our own name server, if we choose default,
Mhm.
we have to add our CNAME record in there. I did that too because I found that solution in Google.
Let me ask you this question. Give
Okay.
me 1 second, okay? Let me ask everybody this question while this is being provisioned.
Okay.
What is NS record, A record, and CNAME? What are those? Forget NS record for now. Just tell me what is the difference between an A record and a CNAME.
Actually, I got the same doubt while choosing. I thought to search, but I didn't get the time, or I forgot.
Okay, so you're going to search.
Yeah, I'm going to
Jyoti,
search.
what is it? Okay, let me use this provision. What is A record? Its provision, and what is CNAME?
Canonical name.
Sorry. Okay.
Canonical name. I forgot some.
Okay, I will tell. So if you have an instance, load balancer, CloudFront, whatever it is, if you're trying to link it for the first time, that is your A record. Okay, with a A record, you already have a name, right? Some name. If you want to create an alias, so let's say this name was XYZ, you want to create ABC. You want to map a name to a name to another name, not CloudFront instance, not EC2 instance, not load balancer, but a domain name. So when you add a name to a name is what is called a CNAME. In a simple term, okay, there might be more technical term to it, but that's what the simple term is. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now since we have ended up being healthy, so Janya, I didn't do anything different. You saw it in front of your eyes. It's
Yes.
healthy, right? I mean, the only reason it will not be healthy is look at your well, again, the security group was created from Terraform, so I didn't manually do it. But the only reason it will not be is if the 8080, if you really look at it down here. So 8080 should be, or well, this is not the one. Where is the other security group? The instance security group. You see this? 8080?
Yeah, I did that. 8080 for my IP and the security group.
Correct. So I will remove the 8080 for my IP right now because I don't need it. Just need it for security group, and I need to be able to SSH. So the other one was for more from directly validating the EC2 instance. So if you have all of this, I didn't do anything different. So Janya, after I created the instance, this is the first thing that I did, right, in front of you. So that worked for me. But if it still doesn't work for you, we'll sit together and we'll try to figure it out.
Okay.
So if I go to load balancer now, and pick up this DNS name from here, and it goes there, right? So that's good. Next, what I want to do is I want to update my A record to point to this DNS. Go to Route 53 and go to your hosted zone, go to SOPs, and there will be this, maybe I've deleted it. So create record for jenkins.lotusops.com. It's an A record I want to create. It's an alias to ALB, right? Load balancer basically. Doesn't work. And then choose your region, which is North, US North Virginia, and choose your load balancer from here, and you're set. Hopefully.
Jenkins.
Oh, Jenkins, sorry. There you go. Simple. All right. Let's quickly get this rolling. Once this is done, what is this guy sitting?
Sudo.
Okay, this is where the fun part is. Okay, before I start doing this, I want to show you something. So if I go inside my where lib Jenkins plugins, you would see the Docker and all that, which usually doesn't come, right? So do you see Docker anywhere? So see this multi-branch scan web hook trigger, which is not there by default. The pipeline utility steps is not there by default. This all came because of my plugin manager. You trust me on that, right? And then there'll be Docker also. Do you see Docker anywhere? Docker plugin. And there'll be a Docker workflow. Okay. So all of those, what I needed is there. So you have to trust me on that, that as part of my initiation, it is already created. So we'll go here and we'll say install suggested plugins and just wait.
This step can't be automated, right, Samir?
As part of Ansible, probably we should be able to do this. Come on. I'm thinking we should be able to do some kind of automation around here. We can at least have Selenium is what I know. Romana has become a chief automation engineer now. Everything she wants to automate, which is good. All right, so this is done, and let's say start using Jenkins. Okay, so far we have not done anything new, right? It's exactly what we did earlier. What we want to see now is first thing first. Okay, Romana, to figure out where your Jenkins war is, you can actually go here.
Yeah, system information. Beautiful.
Okay, and there's a lot of other information that you can look at. What is your Java home, so on and so forth. So all that information is here. If you get time, take a look at it. There is a authorization plugin that I have added actually, but that authorization plugin doesn't show up. Why did you get up so early? Did you brush your teeth? Okay. All right, so what we need to do to see the authorization plugin is, again, if I had my configuration as code setup, I wouldn't even need to do this, okay? But because I haven't set it up, I'll select this role-based strategy. And when I go back here, you'd see this manage and assign roles. So now you can create your role if you want to have like a read permission role and then assign a user to that particular role. Assignment for today, Romana, if you can just put up a note in the WhatsApp group, assignment for today is to read about how to use role-based authorization plugin in Jenkin. Or maybe I will write out over here. Give me a second. Okay. That's for you. I'm not going to do anything. I mean, for now, eventually I want to spend some time linking my authorization to Active Directory as we had promised earlier. The next thing that I want to do is I want to be able to create a simple job, which we did last time, using Jenkin file. Okay. So I would say pipeline demo. And again, I want you guys to help me here because you've seen it. Say, okay. Then what do I do? Come here. You can select pipeline from SCM or script. We right now don't have SCM, so we'll say script. And we just want to say, oh, you know what? Got this. Select from here, hello world. And I'll just add this. Apply, save, and then run. So it ran successfully, but this is not the interesting piece, right? This we have already seen. What I want to do next is go to GitHub. Go to Maven and pick up this guy from here. Okay, but before I pick up this guy from here, what I want to do is I want to set up a credential, right? I mean, this is a place, this is where we are starting with our scope, okay? So we're going to dashboard. I want to create a credential. So credential in Jenkin is like secret, right? You don't want to put it in a plain text, the credentials. So we want to create a credential. You can go to manage credential from here. And you can say add credential. So I want to create a user ID and a password credential. The username is Sheikh Samir at protonmail.com. That's my user. And the password is, I cannot use my actual password. I have to use the token. Okay. So what I need to do is I have to go in here in GitHub, go to settings, go to developers tool here, and I have to generate a personal access token. I had already created one. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to add a new one.
You want to pause the recording, sir?
Sorry?
Do you want to pause the recording or it's fine?
It's fine. Is the recording going on or not?
It's going on.
Yeah, it is. All right. You know what? Yeah. So the token from GitHub, copy it, paste it over here. You can say, let's say, GitHub login, whatever you want to say, you can say it here. And then same thing. Okay. So this is created. Now what I want to do is I want to go back to GitHub and go to the repositories. Oh, wait, did I create this token in my account? Give me 1 second. Let's just make sure. Okay. Lotus Ops. I don't think so. That should be the case, but just want to clarify. Okay, that's there. So that's just a token. It's not an organizational specific token. Come in here, repositories, Maven, which is here, and just we're going to use HTTPS token, right? We are not using SSH. We haven't set up a SSH between the EC2 instance and GitHub. We could do that in the future lessons, but for now, I'll just copy this guy. I'm going to go here, dashboard, and I'm going to say new item. And this time, pipeline SCM demo, source control manager demo. It's a pipeline. Move forward. And when you scroll down, why I don't see source?
I think in the pipeline script.
Yeah. Git and give the URL over here. And credential, I'm going to select this guy. It's satisfied. That's why there was no error. If this credential was not right, you would have seen an error. Okay. If you want to see advanced, you can see like you want to specify which branch and all that. I think you can click on this guy here and say, you can see what you want, ref, head, master, or whatever. I don't. Here I'm going to say main, right? And that's the branch that we want. Let's say apply, let's say save, let's see what happens. I like when things fail because then you get to see failure situations. So it failed, right? It says Docker, permission denied, whatever, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and say Docker image ls. Works. And we are trying to use Docker in Docker kind of a concept. So what I'm going to do is cd where, you know what? I thought EC2 user is already added. Oh. I'm just trying to do this for a second. I think I'm not sure if it is EC2 user or Jenkins. As far as I know, it is Jenkins user. If it is Jenkins user should be able to access. This error that you're getting is because that Jenkins user is not in the group. This guy already has it. Okay, for now, let's do one thing. Where run change mode 666 docker.sock. I'm just going to open it up for everyone, just for now. And I'm going to run this. That's a security hack, what I just did. So that's not the final solution. But let's first figure out if that's what the issue is, that the user is not there in the group. Yeah, see this? It's pulling. So if the user is not there in the group, that's what the problem is. We'll figure out, we'll troubleshoot a bit. So now what it's doing is it's going and downloading the Maven image, and then it'll run the build inside it. So if you see it's successful. So let's go and look at, before we resolve it, right? Let's look at the Jenkin file. So if you look at the Jenkin file, this is where I'm telling it, I want the agent to be used is a Docker agent. The image is this, okay? And this is basically declarative pipeline. So you have stages and then stage, steps. And in steps, I'm saying, I want the Java version and the Maven version. So that's what you see here, Maven version and the Java version, okay? We can make it as complex as we want. So what we will do now is, I'll add one more and say, who am I? I just want to run this command, who am I, to see whether it's really Jenkins user or some other user. I'm assuming it has to be Jenkins user. All right. Now, as soon as I committed, I wanted this build to run. How do I do that? It didn't, see, I committed it, it didn't run. I can wait here forever and it will not run. So for that, what I have to do is I have to set up a webhook. So okay, I'm going to wait for a second just to make sure that you are understanding so far. Any questions so far? Anybody?
As part of that GitHub project that you pulled, Samir, you're just creating a Docker image and printing out the versions, right? That's it?
No. Pipeline by default will run on the master, right? On the master server. And they run it directly on your drive. Basically, you'll be able to see the folder in your workspace. But what I want to do is I want it to run inside a Docker container. That's why my agent is Docker. Otherwise, I could have just said agent any. So when you start with it, don't start with Docker. Start with agent any, and then you can go to your where lib workspace folder. You'll see it there. Okay, the folder is created. But for me, even now you'll see it actually. But for me, what I want is I want it to run inside a Docker container. So if I have the benefit of Docker container is everything is happening inside it. Make sense?
Before it runs inside a Docker container, it is pulling that Maven image?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Obviously, it will have to, right? Without the image, how will it create a container? That you should know by now.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else has any question? Sojourner, do you have any question?
No, Samir.
Okay, so let's move on. The next problem that we're looking at is we made a change. We made a change over here, but that change didn't bring this build to be done automatically. So every time a developer commits a file, we want the build to run. How do we do that is what we're going to see next. So for that, what you need to do is you have to set up a webhook in your repository. If you come down here, there's a webhook. I will delete this guy from here. You would say add a webhook. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so We'll send a post request to the URL below with details of any subscribed event. You can also specify. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to add a webhook, but I need to know what's the URL that I want to send it to. Okay. Jenkins plus GitHub webhook.
That's at the top, Samir.
What's that?
That was at the top.
No, this is a GitHub URL basically. That's not what I'm looking for.
The webhook URL.
Sorry?
Webhook URL, right? You're looking for webhook URL?
No, I'm looking at the Jenkin URL that I'll have to put over here.
Yeah, it was there in the screenshot
Where?
at the top. A little more. Very beginning.
Where, Romana?
Here, add webhook or one more here. Payload URL. What was that? Here. Payload URL. That one.
Here you're seeing it?
Here on top, the screenshot, Samir. From the screenshot. Payload URL.
Oh, GitHub webhook. GitHub
That's the one.
webhook. Looks like it, but I don't remember seeing this. There should be a way for us to derive that from Jenkin is what I'm trying to get to. So let's see.
We have added one plugin, right? Webhook scan something.
Yeah. So if you go here, GitHub trigger remote from script.
On the poll SCM.
What is that?
We need to check poll SCM. Poll SCM.
No, poll SCM, I don't think so.
No? GitHub hook trigger.
When Jenkin receives a GitHub push, the thing is, what I'm trying to get to is this URL right over here. I just want to be able to get the URL that this guy will call when there is when there's a change. I'm kind of trying to figure out if it's this URL or something else. It's looking at it, it says in the page, which events would you like to trigger this webhook? Choose, let me select individual, not this one. At the end of this URL, add GitHub webhook. I'm just trying to see if, just for the sake of it, let's do what he's saying, okay? Just for the sake of it. I'm going to pick up this guy from here and put over here, and it's saying GitHub webhook. I had a way to get this URL, and that's what I'm trying to understand. What is that URL?
Slash.
Yeah, that's
You also
what it
need
is,
to
Samir.
keep slash, forward slash.
I pasted one link in chat, Samir. That's what it is. You have to append GitHub -webhook. Down.
Yeah.
A little more. Little bit. Yeah, there, yeah.
Here? Go to
Yeah.
Jenkins tab and copy the URL then. So it's saying it will provide you the,
Can you
what is
scroll
this? This is
a bit more down? Can you scroll a bit more?
append the GitHub webhook is what it's saying at the end of the URL. I think maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is something which makes me feel that when I did it last, it allowed me to derive that URL from Jenkin. But we'll do that later. We'll figure it out since we already know that this is what the path is. Let's move forward. And enable SSL, just the push event, send me. Let's see. I've activated it, okay? Let's now see if making a change would trigger anything. Do we have to
Samir,
Mhm.
after we install those plugins via plugin installation manager, right?
Mhm.
They will not be enabled. You'll have to restart Jenkin here.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, as
Because
part
I
of
think-
my script, I've restarted it.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see.
That plugin might get utilized here, right? Webhook scan, something you asked us to add.
Yeah. Some reason it is not. Last time when I did it, this is for polling SCM. I don't want to poll SCM. GitHub hook trigger from git SCM polling. When Jenkin receives GitHub push hook, GitHub plugin checks to see whether the hook came from GitHub repository, which I remember I had to add.
I saw the logs over there, Samir. GitHub hook, Git hook logs, something.
Where?
If you go back here from this screen back to home. Yeah, down there, pipeline syntax. Nothing there.
There's nothing here actually. So let's see what it does. So new item it created. There should be something that we check here to click on the build trigger tab and then on the GitHub trigger for git SCM polling. GitHub trigger for git SCM polling. That's what I did, isn't it? Right? Every code commit. Strange. I'm pretty sure this should trigger. Okay, that's an assignment for me and for you too. Build triggers. It's the same one. Hope I committed it. Yeah, I did. Doesn't want to trigger. Okay, anyway, let's not spend a lot of time over here. Let me put it up into our assignment for now.
What option did you select? Let me select individual event or send me everything or just the push event? I think if you select the third one, when you do a commit to GitHub, it'll pick up.
Here, this one.
One second.
Send me everything.
Let me select individual events.
Okay, and then?
वहाँ पे है क्या? Commit do you see any option for commit?
This one?
No, they have not mentioned what it is, but yeah, this
Well,
would give us
basically, if I
option.
say send everything is
And
everything, right?
Yes.
So that
Send
should
me everything. It'll trigger if there is any pull or push, like any pull or push event.
I mean, technically this should work, but let's see. Last time I didn't have so much trouble. When I set it up for multi-branch, it was a little different than this. But
Samir, I'll be right back.
I'm just thinking, should we not have, like, as per the other one, it's the other one, this one, they're just setting up to port and then doing a GitHub webhook content type to application JSON. Have a different content type there. Oops. There's an error here. Last delivery was not successful, failed to connect to host. Oh, GitHub doesn't have access on the security group is blocking it. We have opened it up only for our IP addresses, right? Over here in LB, we have it opened up only for our IPs. So we have to open it up for everyone, basically. So let's add a rule. Let's add HTTPS. And let's add it for everyone for now, okay? Just for now. And let's go ahead back here and code Jenkins file. Let's just open this guy up. Wait. Yep, there you go. That was it. Struggle, but struggle is good.
Oh, what did I miss, Samir? What made it work?
Well, whatever we said earlier worked. Well,
What?
the thing was, when we looked at this guy over here, there was a small exclamation next to Webhook. When we went to Webhook, there was a small exclamation. Now, right now it is correct here, right? Right.
Okay.
There was an exclamation which was saying that it is the last hook failed. As soon as I saw that last hook failed, it triggered in me that we have a security group wherein we were allowing only our IP address to access it. So I had to just go and edit for all. Technically, what I could do is I can see if, well, GitHub will not have any specific IP that I can open up. So I had to open it up for everyone for now.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so that's how we got it working. So, but it failed, which is okay. So what we are doing is, who am I? Cannot find name for user ID 994. So there's no user name for it. That's the reason why I was expecting it to be Jenkins. Okay. Okay, let's keep that up there. And we'll come to it. So what I'll do is I will go back to code and remove that who am I for now. It's fine. I want to do one more thing over here is I want to see branch -a. Just run that and see what happens. So now this should start running the fourth one. You see that?
One quick question. We are trying to run it in the Docker container, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within the Docker container, do we need to install Jenkins or no need? Will it
You don't need to install Jenkins, but yeah, you don't need to install Jenkin. But now what is happening is Docker in Docker is happening, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Docker in Docker technically. We have this EC2 instance. In there we have Docker, and the builds are running inside the Docker container. So technically, what is happening is the Docker which is running as a Docker container should be able to access everything which is on the host. So what is your question about? You don't have to, the answer to you is you don't have to define Jenkin or install Jenkin inside it.
Okay. Within the Docker container also, will it run with the Jenkins user? If it's running on the master machine, it will run with the Jenkins user.
Yes. Yeah.
Within the Docker container also, will it run with the Jenkins user?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
We have to check out, because right now what has happened is we are using, if you see, we are using this Maven Docker image out of the box, right? This Maven Docker image might be having a user specified as that 984 or whatever that is. So what we will have to do is we will have to bake our own image and then define our user as Jenkin user. So when somebody uses this image to create a container, the default user will be Jenkin user. That's a tip for you, basically, why it is working that way. But it's an assignment, so I'll not give you more clues. Okay, so what it is saying is it is failing, but Git not found. Git, yeah, obviously Git is not found because in the Docker container, there's no Git. So we will have to bake our image ourselves from that Maven image. And I've already shown you how to bake an image, correct? Last time. Using this as the from image, how to bake an image, how to install Git in it. All of that I have shown you. Yes or no?
Yes, Samir.
Yes, Samir.
Okay, please respond. So what you're going to do is you're going to, because that wanted to look at Git. Mansa, was it you?
Yeah, that was Mansa.
She wanted to create a Git branch and then push a Git branch. Okay. So what I will do just for her is I'm going to comment this agent until we have a new image. And leave it as agent any. Let's see what happens. Because on the host, I have Git. So number 5 should start running. It worked. Right? So this is what I was talking about, Mansa. It creates a detached head, right? And you cannot do anything with detached head. So what we will do is we'll create a branch out from that detached head. Okay. I call it as new branch. And then I will run this command. So I'm on branch called new branch, correct? And this is the branch that I want to push to the remote. But before I push to the remote, I have to set up my user ID, user and password, user and email, right? So what I will do is get config global user.name Jenkins service account. Get config global user.email. No reply at jenkins.lotusops.com. Is this right syntax? I don't remember if that's the right syntax, but let's try it out. If it doesn't work that way, we'll just go with a single statement. because the branch already exists, right? What we want to do is probably we want to clean the workspace before recreating a new one. So the workspace is not cleaned. So what is the way to clean the workspace in Freestyle? I don't remember, but there is a command here which says let's go to this guy and go to configure. I just want to derive the command. That's why I came here. There is this. This is a very important thing here, right? So just click here. This opens up. And then what you can do is clean workspace or something like that is there. This one. Just pick that up. You can add advanced if you want to. All of it. And say generate pipeline script. So it is just clean WS. This, go back to your code, and there is a finally block. This is what I want. Just copy this back. It's just under stages, if you see it. Just paste it, and then over here, I want to bring that command, this command. Save it. And go back to your even if it fails, it's okay. We'll run it one more time. Hoping it'll clean the workspace. So now if you see, the user is set up, right? And we are on new branch. What I want to do now is I want to push this branch out to the remote. What is the command? Not blame. What is the command for that? Mansa, you have to tell me. Will this work, Mansa?
Yes, Samir.
Will it work?
If it not, we have to add the remote.
Instead of having multiple SH commands, I'll put over here.
In the pipeline itself, we added the credentials, right, Samir? Then it is the purpose of adding the credentials here also.
What credentials? We added the GitHub credentials there. We didn't add the config, right?
Mhm.
Was that Mansa or Jyoti? Who was that?
Yes.
Okay, let's run this. This syntax generator is important for you, okay? You don't have to really go figure out. There's a lot of commands over here. And if you want a declarative directive generator, you can click here and then you can look for all of this. Okay. So let's see. So it failed. What it's saying is could not read username from no such device or address. Okay, so I'll explain you what's happening. What we will do is although we have given credential, that credential was just to bring or clone this repository. It is not to push from here. If we have to be able to push from here, there is something fancy that we have to do, which I usually do not recommend, but there is a better way to do it, which we'll figure out. But what I will want to do here is, before we go any further, I want to show you something. So I will comment this out. And instead of this, what I'll do is git remote -v is what I'm going to put over here so that I can show you. Just a second. So git remote -v I'm showing you for a specific purpose. This guy doesn't have credential to run it. So in here, there are two ways to do it. Either we have to use with credentials and then define it. Or if you see here, we'll have to make sure that this particular URL is modified to have the user ID, username, and the password in the URL. Okay. How do you do that? Anybody has done that before? You have to use that @ username password. So this one. So we have to use user password @domain. That's how we'll have to do it. So let's go. This is not the right way to do it, okay? But this is the quickest way to do it, just to figure things out, and I'll tell you how to do it in a better way. Check out git remote. Okay, over here. Git remote set URL origin. So if you see the output of this guy, right, the origin, we want to change this URL to have this syntax: user : password @domain. Okay. So what I want to do is http:// user. What is the user? Samir colon, and the password I'll pick it up from here. It's okay, I'm going to drop it, so it's fine. Where am I? And this whole thing, I think, would be better if we convert it to a base 64, because it has a @ in the username. I think my username is different, right? Where is my username? Sheikh Samir 13 or Samir Sheikh 13. Let's use that one instead of this. Let's see if that works.
My username, right?
What's that?
In my project, I should not give my username and password, right? Something has.
Sorry, no, I'm not understanding what you're saying.
You are giving your username and password, right? But in my project, while defining, I should not give my username and password.
You should not. So what we will do is we will use the credentials to pass it over here. Okay. I just want to see if this is going to work to start with. And git remote. Oh. Okay. And I'll just, yeah, as I told you, right, it's not the best way to do it. There's another best way to do it is how we are going to do. But let's first figure out if this is working or not, how it's feeling. So it's there, it's in there. Now, since it's in there, I don't even know if that user ID password is correct one or not. But what we will do is we will try to bring in this guy. Yeah, the whole reason I'm showing you this bits a bit by bit is so that you're able to connect those dots. Otherwise, I can just take you to the final solution. Every time you should know, as I always keep telling, right, what is the problem and why do we need a solution for it? If I take you to the solution directly, you would not know why am I doing it this way. So if I'm thinking the user ID password is not correct, authentication failed. Because I think it doesn't like this user ID and password.
Comparing about personal access token when you have already used it.
Yeah, that's my personal access token, but I'm not sure if this user ID is the correct one because that's not the one that I log in with. Okay, let's figure it out. Base 64, not base 64, URL encode. I want to encode URL because I have a @ in my. Change my password now. If this does not work, I will try to do it with my token also. Most of the time, it will not allow you to use this. You'll have to use a token, but let's see. Yeah, this is something for you also to figure it out, okay? And then I will show you the with credential option. I think it's authentication issue only. Could not read password, no search device. It doesn't like that. So last one, what we will do is we will try to see if the token works. If anybody has any suggestion, please feel free to tell me, okay? Password for this no such device or address. That's able to. Let's see. It should work. We used it several times. Let's go and see. Interesting thing. Line demo, configure, scripted pipeline syntax, and declarative credential is there. With credential. generate pipeline. Should be. Should be the one, but it should give me a way to specify what's the use, what's the token. Variable. Is this guy here? It's a username, password, credential, isn't it? Yeah, it should give me a variable for unless it's a username and password, which is default, and I'm forgetting it. Anybody has used this before?
Samir.
No?
No.
Okay. Let's try this. Okay. Let's try with that same one, what we had got. And where is it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put didn't copy. Credentials. Here, let's remove this one from here. Just want to see if it allows me to run this within a step. That fails and it is defeating the whole purpose. Yeah, I know we have overtime, but let's spend like 5 minutes. If it doesn't work, then so we are able to do it within. What I'm going to do next is do this one. Yeah.
Samir, here,
One
instead of credentials ID,
Mhm.
While we are generating credentials in Jenkins, we have credential ID, right? What if we add that name here?
That's the same name, right? GitHub login. That's the same name.
Okay.
Yeah. That GitHub login is actually credential ID. I was thinking it will give me a variable, but looks like it doesn't give me a variable. So I'm removing this and I'm going to see if it allows me to push. I don't even need this guy because I'm within the credential. It should use the credential which is known to it.
There's one more suggestion from Overstack, Samir, where HTTPS access token at github.com and the username.
Okay, give me a second, Raman. Let's see if this goes through.
Sure.
You see that the new branch is pushed actually. And we will see if the new branch is available over here. Yeah. So that worked.
Thanks, Samir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this was the right thing that I was telling you, right? We don't want to leak the user ID password in source, but the approach that I was showing you should also work. I'm not sure why it didn't work. Maybe I'm making some mistake, but the user ID and password can actually be hooked up into a URL, and you can use that as that's what we're using in a shared library actually in Jyoti's company. Yeah, so this is what it is. It's already saved in this Maven. If you want to take from here, we wanted to see a couple of more things. Give me 1 second. Let's quickly visit on, where is it? What's this? I thought I had WhatsApp open somewhere. Here. So this one we saw. I've set up Terraform to install required plugins during commissioning. You'll spend some time to look at it, right? This is what we saw. The next one is create AWS SES. We didn't look at it, but let me put it up for tomorrow. Build using it, Docker agents. We saw this, correct? And there is an assignment for you. Did I send you the assignment? Yeah, this one. You have to rebake your image, and then you have to see whether you can use a Jenkins user in that. So you'll have to create a user as part of your Docker file. Okay. This one over here, the second assignment is about that. You're going to derive from the base URL, whichever that Maven Docker image is. And then in that, you're going to create a system user. And then you're going to use, finally, towards the end, you're going to use that system user that you've created. Okay. If you do not understand, please get back to me. I will give you clear instructions. Use Jenkins file stored in GitHub to create multi-branch is what we didn't see. So let me quickly touch base on that. We spent too much time figuring out the webhook stuff. So what I'll do is I'll pick up the same URL. I will go to the job. What is the biggest problem with this job now? Just look at it and tell me what is the biggest problem. The biggest problem is there are 2 branches now. One branch is main and the other branch is new branch. Every time you have to create a job for each and every new branch, that's a lot of hurdle, correct? A lot of pain. Wouldn't it be nice that the job will automatically get created and use the Jenkins file under that branch as soon as it's commissioned? That is where the multi-branch concept comes into picture. Okay, and we have installed that. So if you come here and select multi-branch and say Jenkins multi-branch demo, and then go down here, come to source, add GitHub as a repository here. Credential is this, repository URL is this, and let's validate. It's good. Now you can come down here. I will leave everything. I mean, we will look at how to configure it later, but for now, I will just leave it as is. There was one thing. If you scroll down, it's a Jenkin file that we want to use at the root. Allow multi-branch webhook trigger. Okay, the webhook, I'm not going to enable it for now. Let's just, because we are running out of time, the next session, I will show you how to do that. For now, just save it. Let's see if it is able to scan those branches automatically. So if you see here, it automatically scanned the branches and started running those branches. It'll fail for sure because what we have is we have a branch that is being created and being pushed, and that branch already exists. So both of them are bound to fail. But you're understanding the concept why we, oh, wow, really worked? What did it push? GitHub has been notified of this commits build result. What did it push? Is it, oh, it's just pushing it the same branch basically. So it's the same branch. It's not pushing the new branch. Both of them are doing the same thing. So what you could try to do is you could have your multiple branches and try to do something different in both the branches. But the thing is, you'll see the branch being created automatically over here. So if I go in and create a new branch over here, well, I have not figured out how to create a branch from the UI. Did anybody figure that out? How to create a new branch from here?
Mostly we create from this UI in
No, Samir, we
Webhook.
can create from here. Just can you go back one screen?
Where?
One more
One
step,
more
I
screen.
think so.
One more screen. Yeah, you can directly
Main.
click on that main. No,
Down.
yeah.
Your branches.
That's
No,
the same
Samir.
one.
No, Samir. No, Samir. Just we can enter the branch name. Yeah, branch name there and
Oh, create a branch. Oh, shoot. I spent all my time looking around because I'm so much used to GitLab, which allows to create a branch. I never read this. So let's say I'll say test branch.
yeah, create branch. Click on create branch.
Wow, this is like a hidden feature. How did you know that?
Yesterday only I figured.
So if I do a scan, the scan should automatically run basically, but if you look at the logs, it should identify the test branch. And now the test branch will be available for you to build. So this is the coolest feature that I like. And I'm so much used to this. I'm not used to freestyle. I'm not used to the individual branches. This is what I'm used to actually a lot. And this is what I feel is production ready feature. You don't want to create a branch job every single time you have a branch. I mean, that's what we used to do originally with Wildwoods and Monix. But then we came up with this and this made our life a lot more easier. Okay, so we saw this. Any questions on this? I think you should be able to go through it and figure it out, correct? I will look here. And now how to delete a branch, tell me. Here, this guy. Okay, delete it. So these are gone. Now, if I go back to my job and if I scan, technically there's it will scan automatically. Okay. I don't have to manually scan it, but just to save some time, the old branches are gone. Rumana, any questions on this? It's gone, looks like.
Yes, but I couldn't focus last few minutes because
Sorry, Rumana, what you said?
I couldn't focus last few minutes.
Okay.
I was on and off.
Okay.
I'll go through recording. Yeah.
Okay. So we've done this. Let's see what was next. Use Jenkin file stored in GitHub to create multi-branch pipeline. We saw that. Set up commit hooks to build as soon as code is committed. We've seen this, correct? We have seen it for a single branch. The assignment is to do it for multi-branch. Okay, well, I'll add it to the assignment. Create new EC2 instance and set up SSH connectivity to Jenkin master. We haven't seen this. I'll keep it for tomorrow. Set up new EC2 instance as Jenkin worker and ensure no jobs are scheduled on master anymore. We'll do this tomorrow. It's a very simple thing, actually. Please do not miss. Create Jenkin credential. We saw restart Jenkin from CLI is easy. I can show you right away. What you can do is you can just say, come here, go to the top over here, and just say, start. It'll let you restart Jenkin. Okay, so you've seen that. Kill a running job. I mean, our jobs are like pretty completing very, very soon. But let this start. You can go to the job and then say /kill. Okay, that is what is killing a job. If you are not able to stop it for whatever reason, it's a long running job, you can kill it. So instead of /restart, it's /kill. Set up scheduled maintenance page. So new jobs are not allowed to be run, actually, supposed to be. So I will pick up from here and put it for tomorrow.
Webhook would fail without that plugin, right, Samir?
Webhook will not work without that plugin. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
That's right. So you have 3 assignments, and this is what we will do for tomorrow. Mansa, you think, I think we have to also do, it's mixture here, but deal with me. Create Jenkins job with parameters. Freestyle and pipeline. You want to see both. Okay, so that's for tomorrow. These are your assignments. I think you have very simple assignments. One big part of our assignment, or rather 2 assignments which are left out. One is the highly available Jenkin, which we can pick up later after some time, after we look at auto-scaling groups, so on and so forth. The other one is the Jenkin configuration as code, right? Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, so if I get in here, the restart job is simple. Basically, you can go to any job that you want. If this guy completes so soon, but if this will complete very soon, but when you click on it, right, you can say /kill. Let's say let's try with post, and then that job will be killed. Okay, so if you go back, you see that hard kill. That's what I meant. So instead of console, you'll put kill for that job. Okay, any questions so far? Whatever we did, you followed, right? All of you?
Yes, Samir.
Clear.
Okay.